You know, every time we start the show now, I just get this, I get this weird, you know, I don't know, compulsion, this weird feeling that, is this, I wonder if the STDs think, okay, is this the day that they just play the theme and then that's it? You know when we're going to do this? I'm going to tell you now when we're going to do this. April Fools. This will be our April Fools joke. People will, listen, we got a bunch of old guys listening. They're going to forget this by April 1st.
Exactly. Yeah, it dovetails with our conversation. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I don't remember. You just, before we hit record, Tim asked me, what was that place we went to, that restaurant 10 years ago with the circular tables and the posters of Oasis on the wall? I'm like, dude, I don't remember where I ate yesterday. And I wasn't kidding. I watched a movie 2 nights ago. I was talking about this with Fred this morning. I was talking about Rob Reiner movies because, of course, I'm thinking about Rob Reiner. So I said, last night I watched When Harry Met Sally. That was Tuesday. On Monday, I watched another Rob Reiner movie that I couldn't recall.
Oh, my.
I was like, oh, yeah, The American President. Anyway. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Swing Thoughts. That's an unusual opening even for us. Yes, it's Golf Spiritual Leader, along with Coach Tim. 10 years, hundreds of episodes, and we're still doing it. We're still doing it. Mm-hmm. We're still discussing golf. Haven't we covered all the bases yet? Have we not?
I think we've covered
the end of the rainbow.
Now we're in the subterranean.
Now, where are
levels.
we now?
We're in the deep, dark basement now. We're looking for little gems that haven't been discovered, and like, oh, we haven't gone deep enough into that. But I actually, just coming back to the theme, I read a really cool thing. You find stuff to read on Facebook, wouldn't you know, on how Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits came to write Sultans of Swing. And he went into some club, and there was these older guys who played kind of like this Dixieland jazz, and no one in the bar is paying any attention to them. Like, the way he paints the scene in the song is kind of how it went down. Wow. And he just, what really struck him, and I think what motivated him to write the song, was like near the end of the night, the place is barely full, and the announcer with great gusto announces, and we are the Sultans of Swing.
Oh, that's great.
And it just stuck with him. Yeah, no, it's a great story. You could easily find it if you just...
Well, no, and I think that's interesting, too, for many reasons, not the least of which on this episode today, everybody, brought to you by Par for Success / Humble and Fred. Get a free 45-minute consultation. Get yourself in some great shape. Improve your mobility. Play pain-free. Later on in this episode, Tim's going to talk about, we're going to do there's a lot of music on this show today. And we're going to talk about your time covering music as a music critic and I guess you watched a lot of shows. That's kind of cool. Speaking of Mark Knopfler, it's a similar story. I didn't know that Sultans of Swing story, but it's a similar story how he wrote Money for Nothing. I want my MTV. The song. Oh, and he's like, look at that yo-yo. That's the way you do it. You play your guitar on your MTV. That's the line in the song. Apparently, he was actually in a furniture store, in some kind of store, and he saw these guys looking up at the screens, watching MTV, and they literally said that. Some guy goes, look at those yo-yos. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing. Yeah, and he just picked it up.
Yeah. Well, most of the stuff that anybody writes about, talks about, makes jokes about, is based on experience.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And that's, it's just, there's such a rich trove of stuff to draw on there. As they say, the truth is stranger than fiction.
A couple little quick updates before we jump into the meat of today's program. Our friends, Fred Shoemaker and Carl Morris got together on a recent episode of the Mind Caddy, our buddy Carl's podcast. I thought I'd just throw that out there. My buddy Grant McDougall, who was on our show a few weeks ago, I said, hey, have you heard Carl's appearance on Fred's show. I said, I haven't. I've been kind of taking a little step back from golf the last couple of weeks. Anyway, Grant he heard it and told me about it. And then Grant's gone back and listened to Fred's appearance with us many years ago.
Yeah.
And brought up a good point. Was that the only time that we've ever had Fred on the show, that one time?
That is the one time, yeah. And honestly, I've reached out a couple times and haven't been able to lure him back. I don't know. I kind of get the roaring silence. So I don't know. I have a great relationship with Fred. I don't know. My sense is that Joe, his manager wife, parcels him out very parsimoniously, not much, because they want maximum hit. So Carl obviously has a huge following. We do okay, but I don't think we touch the magnitude of Carl's.
Well, I think we should try again. We're
absolutely. I do. I haven't tried for a couple of years.
Yeah,
I'll give it another shot.
Well,
so Joe and Fred, if you're listening, I know you're not.
No.
We want you back. We do. Our listeners want you back. They need you.
Well, when we have our Swing Thought Summit in January, we should, part of what we should do is maybe list the people that we have had that would be great to revisit. Because, I don't know, like we said just jokingly, have we not come to the end of golf? Have we not figured it out yet? But no, there's, as you say, we're mining now the nuance and the fine, we're polishing this to a fine nib. Or nub or whatever. But why don't we go, because we really have a catalog of people that would be great to have another visit with. We had Raymond Pryor back on for the first time in a couple of years. That was great. But it would be great to talk to Fred. Great to talk to a guy like Michael Hebron. He's not going to be around forever. Have him back on.
Dick Zokol.
John Foley. Zokol. Yeah, all these guys.
Chuck. Marty
Chuck. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, all those guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of the thing we could do.
Judson Brewer would be a cool guy to get back.
Why don't we just go over? Why don't you and I? This episode is going to be. This would be a funny episode if all we did for this episode is just list people we had on our show. Ed Collins, that we want to get back.
Well, isn't what old guys do? You remember when?
Remember that time? I'm really surprised because you're just a little older than me that you actually thought I, being the kid. I thought when you said to me before the show, so that restaurant? I'm like, what restaurant are we talking about, man?
Oh, we said Milton, and we went there.
Right,
but never mind. Yeah, we do sound like.
Well, we are. We're geezers, man.
A bunch of old guys on the porch.
We're geezers now.
Did I ever tell you about the time? Oh, yeah. But
there was a famous tweet early in 2025. I saw this tweet from Phil Mickelson, who I've always hated and have returned to hating him.
Me too. Me too. Yep. Loathe.
Thank you.
Despise.
Wish him poorly. So, he tweeted something about he didn't think Scotty Scheffler would win a tournament.
Yes.
Until something about would Scotty Scheffler win a tournament at all this year?
Yeah.
And Scheffler was coming back from some minor. I'm not sure what he had. Did he have surgery or something was going on? But he was late to the game, and then ended up winning 6 times, 2 majors, consistent top 10 finishes. I don't think he's finished out of the top 25 in years. Not the greatest Ryder Cup, but, the Americans got dusted. And he, for the 4th time in a row, he is the player of the year. The only other guy that's done that is El Tigre.
Exactly, yeah.
So
we are old guys, because I was going to say El Tigre. Start to say the same thing, finish each other's lines.
That's right.
God.
And we're like an old married couple now.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Oh, I thought amazing. I mean, who else? You just, based on what you just spelled out, whatever. Yeah, Rory had an amazing year, all that. But Scotty Scheffler, I mean, he's always there. He is full marks player of the year. You just can't dispute it.
I think that there would have been a case to be made prior to the Open Championship where if Scheffler hadn't won what we used to call the British Open. This is the British Open. Then they would have been close because Rory would have had the Players and the Masters. And I think that would have somehow like overtaken the PGA Championship. But then you throw in the Open. So now you're two majors against a major and the Players, which is kind of like a major, but
but also the consistency.
Yeah.
You know, and just in terms of that award is voted on by PGA Tour players. And so they're looking at, a lot of PGA Tour players actually are, they're not happy that there's so much emphasis put on the majors. So when you layer in the consistency in regular tour events, if you will, even though he mostly plays, you know, kind of what I'll call tier 2, tier 3, he doesn't play in the John Deere Classics, just John Deere Classics.
He plays at the elevated events. And
yes, exactly. But he's always there. And so I just think that they look at that body of work and go, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, his record for the last 4 years, I think he's up to 19 wins overall.
Yeah, he's 19 wins out of 80 tournaments. So that's close to 25%.
Yeah, that's Tiger-like as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just absolute domination.
He's already in the Hall of Fame based on his number of majors. I think he's up to 5.
Something like that, yeah. But he hasn't won it's the PGA he hasn't won, isn't it?
No, he won the PGA.
Oh, no, it's the U.S. Open.
It's the U.S. Open he hasn't won.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Anyhow, I think you're right. You can't argue with that. And, you know, Rory would have been a close second. An amazing year. You know, yeah, and you know, it's weird. Like, I've liked Scotty Scheffler. I remember, and I'm not just saying this, but I'm a nerd. I'm a golf geek. I remember watching NCAA. You know, sometimes the Golf Channel would have it on. I would watch some of the NCAA stuff that they'd had, and I remember his name because it was so close to Schauffele. And I thought, that's interesting. The Scheffler brothers or Schaffels or whatever.
Yeah.
And it took him a minute. And another thing I was reminded of the other day is that Scotty Scheffler actually played a little bit on the Corn Ferry Tour. Like you know, it took him a bit to get going. He didn't just burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
But from the time he started winning now, it's been 4 years of that.
Yeah, he just seemed to kind of like he was one of those guys talked about all the time, up and coming. But then he just like, bammo, like, here I am, world, and I'm kicking your butts. I mean, just amazing. But what I find really interesting, too, about him is that, so with Tiger, his swing kind of became viewed as the model. You know, like Adam Scott and him, like that full finish and full height, you know, and the very tight turn and everything like that, both feet on the ground throughout both parts of the swing until the finish. That became the way you swing. But no one is trying to copy Scotty Scheffler's footwork. And it's just, and I love the way he just like freewheels through the ball. He doesn't leave an ounce behind when he's swinging that driver through. I love that. I love the fact that he almost like falls off. He's almost off balance when he's done.
Yeah. I never really got, and I'm not saying I do now, but I have a bit more of an understanding of what's going on kind of in general in terms of how you put pressure into the ground and how the ground will react. Part of the thing that I learned going to London to hang out with Marcus Bell and the guys at GRF, Ground Reaction Force Golf, is, and I sort of started to learn it. That's what I've been working on this off season, mostly without swinging a club, to tell you the truth. But what Scotty Scheffler does is what a lot of guys do. It's just that the way he comes out of the ground, the way he springs out of the ground, that back leg drags, kind of like a little reminiscent. You know, you'll relate to this because you're an old guy like me, of Greg Norman.
Greg Norman. Yep, exactly.
And Greg Norman, you know, say what you want about him as a guy, but definitely they used to say about him, the longest, straightest driver of the golf ball ever, who's very much like the Scott man, Scotty Scheffler.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I want to apologize for calling him the Scott man because I don't know. I just felt very comfortable. And I will
No
never...
apologies necessary.
Oh no,
Don't start editing or censoring yourself.
No,
we
no,
want
I know,
you to
but...
we want you to free will here.
Yes, but sometimes the freewheeling can get out of hand, and that would be one of them. Hey, here's a weird thing. I'm going to tell you a story now, and we were talking about this before the show. I said, oh, this will tie in nicely to your article about this person. But my story actually involves the same person, and until this second, I completely forgot.
Because you're of a certain vintage.
Wow, that's really scary, man. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what. Here's why you'll instantly relate to what I just said. So we do a thing, the Humble and Fred Show. We have a sponsor, Kelsey's. They've been great to us. And part of our deal is that I think contractually 3 times a year, spring, summer, and Christmas, or the season, we do a live show from one of their restaurants. Live to an audience, and then we record it, and that becomes our podcast. And
is that a remote?
Not really a remote. It's more like at a car dealership. I get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the remote that you're thinking of is different. Anyway, so we did it, and this year, and I've done this in other times in my radio career where we had a big blowout with the audience, and then we'd have a band there, and then Fred and I would get up and we would play with the band. So I said to Fred, I said, hey, why won't we do something like that? And, something a little surprising for the audience, because now we're like guys in our late 60s. Freddie's going to be 70 next spring. Ooh. I said, why don't we do something like that at this last Kelsey's event of the year? So the song that we have done over the years, and I've done it before, but it's been a long time, is this song. And all the time we've been going back and forth about your article, I forgot the fact that this is the song I did. Ridiculous. Everyone else will see what we're talking about here in a minute or two.
You guys know what time of year it is?
So, most people know this is Springsteen's version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Oh, Christmas time.
You know this song, right?
Well, everybody does of a certain vintage.
Knows this, right?
Clients, you've been rehearsing real hard now. So Santa, bring your.
They recorded this. Like this is from like 1980, 81 or something.
Oh, that's not many. You guys are in trouble out here. Yeah, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I was just miming the boss.
Oh, I thought your mic cut out there for a second. I was like,
no,
what?
I was doing.
Yeah, Santa Claus is coming to town. So, I'm just going to get it for you now here. I just realized I have, here we go. Hang on a second. I just forgot all about this. It's really funny to me how old we're getting. Okay.
I'm glad you can laugh.
All right. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
And it's me playing guitar, by the way.
He's coming to town.
You playing guitar? Yeah, you can play.
So I just forgot I could even play some of that. So it's something we did.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was cool. But here's where I want to start the story because it's going to relate. So Tim's got an article. Is it an article Substack?
Yeah, or post or newsletter.
So it's very cool, and I've read it, and it's all about Bruce Springsteen. And I read it this morning, and I knew I was going to tell the story of this, but literally until a second ago, I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I did a Springsteen song."
Yeah.
And just to give some context to the audience, Tim's a very good bass player. You've been playing bass a long time, and you play in a band, in a combo, in a group, in a trio, in a troupe. I don't know what is it.
Ensemble.
An ensemble. That's right. So I, on the other hand, am a 23 handicap guitar player. I'm like the guy, and this is where you'll relate, I think, too, is, and I think our audience can relate. I'm like the guy you meet in his 60s that's been playing golf his whole life, but he still sucks. And, and that's me. Like, when I tell people how long I've been playing guitar, like, if I didn't tell you, like, if I never told you how long I was playing guitar, like you thought, you would assume, I just picked it up a few days ago and smooshed around on it. But
I learned learned the C chord, learned a G.
I learned a few chords, but I've been playing it since I was a kid. I just got to a point, I plateaued, and just never got any better. And so I'm a 23 handicap guitar player, but a 30 handicap singer. And that's under ideal conditions. That's like in my house, in the shower, all alone, but not in front of 100. Like there was about 100 people there and thousands of people.
Yep.
So here's what I wanted to say how it relates to golf. So the guy that I was playing with, he's also a bass player. He plays in bands. He's a scratch. He's a scratch musician, and he's a scratch bass player. Not a professional. But, for an amateur, he's really, really good, and he's very kind, and he's very, just one of those guys. He's reminding me, to be honest with you, reminds me a little bit of you, just always, I mean it, like, he's just a really sweet guy, and always errs on the side of, like, like, to be kind, which is a nice way, and I would describe you similarly. His name is Bruce Mallory, is his name, and, when I told him, I said, hey, would you like to do this with me? He says, oh, absolutely. So here's what we did. We practiced for a couple hours together. Just one song. So 2 hours of practice with him, at least 2, maybe more hours on my own. And it's not a very difficult song, but, it's like, it's got a couple of cool little changes to it. It's got some little thing. B7th is in there, and there's an E6th, and, there's a couple real chords in there.
We're not just your C's and G's, but
it's actually an A.
Your diminished and
yeah, it's got some A7th in there.
There you go.
And I'm just looking over here because we were rehearsing in my studio, and I after about a half an hour, I said, Bruce says, because I've known this guy a long time, I said, hey, Bruce, what do you think is worse, my singing or my playing? And he's such a great guy. He just kind of paused and went, that's an interesting question.
He's just buying time.
He was just trying to buy time. A guy, what do you think? He's like, that's a really good question.
It's kind of like, does this dress make me look fat?
Exactly. So here's where I wrote a lot of this down, and I'll share it with you in an email. But like, I went there, and I really was excited. Like golf, I'd practiced all week. I thought I was doing pretty good. By the time Sunday came, I got up Sunday morning and I played it a couple more times, and now I can play it by heart. Like I wasn't really having to look at the music anymore. And I really thought I thought this could be my day. Like I was ready to shoot a good number. To be fair, I had about a 98. It wasn't terrible. There were a couple of good moments. I would have scored better, but at one point I literally, it's not in that clip that I played, but I literally could not remember what the next chord was. I fumbled around a little bit.
Welcome to performance.
Exactly. And here's where it's going to be just like golf. I was too much in my head trying to remember how to play the song while I was playing the song. I'll repeat that. I was trying to remember how to play it while playing it. And that's where I got messed up. Yeah. Like when there was no pressure in my house on Sunday morning, I got up and my girlfriend Shona said, what are you doing? I said, I'm practicing. And the couple of times I played it before going to the gig, as we musicians like to call it, before going to the gig, I thought I had it down. And again, and this is what I wrote. I said, practice isn't like the real thing, and you have to kind of give up control and throw yourself into it, just like you do, our best rounds of golf. Just pause for a second. Just talk amongst yourselves. There's just somebody at my door here. Don't go in.
Yeah, well, I think what you're talking about is you have to rely on the preparation that you've put in. Like you practice it, you have to learn the song, and then at a certain point, you just sort of give over to yourself and have trust that you've done the work, and however you show up, you show up. And that's why a line that I use all the time is the man with no expectations, a man or woman with no expectations, is never disappointed. So you do your preparation, and you just show up and you just kind of let the magic happen. And it's kind of like trying to give up control to gain control. And so I love the analogy you're making, and because it's so apt. I go through it constantly. I'll try and be brief here with my recent experience of that is, so our band was, we played in the Santa Claus Parade in Guelph. And so we learned 3 songs, Slade song, Merry Christmas, Everybody. If you have a UK heritage, you'd recognize that song. White Christmas, done punk style, and Run Run Rudolph, Chuck Berry. And so we learned the song. We weren't able to practice it very much. So the morning of the show, of the whole day, I'm nervous.
I'm sorry, were you on a float?
Yeah, we were on a float. Yeah.
Oh, so you're playing as you're driving by people.
Yeah. And yeah. So anyways, that morning, so I get to the locker where we practice early, and I've been practicing these things at home, like you, getting through the fine, but I'm feeling nervous. And so as I'm trying to practice these on my own before the rest of the guys show up, I'm muffing it just constantly. And I finally realize I'm in my head. I'm thinking, like when I'm in one place, I'm thinking, okay, don't miss when we go to A here, and then when it shifts down to E. And once I let go of that, then it was fine. And the guys showed up, and anyways, it came off amazingly, and it was so fun. There's about 6,000 people, but we can get into more of that later if you wish. But that whole thing is that if you do the preparation, there's no shortcuts to that. You have to, I'm sure it's the same thing in stand-up. You've written your jokes, you've put them in an order that you think works. You work through them a bit, and then you just show up and you give it. And if you're trying to control it, if you're trying to make sure that, this follows this, then you're in your head and you're not present.
No, absolutely. And I knew you'd relate to this. So I'm just going to read you what I wrote, because I've said it. I've made some points here that I want to make sure I get it right. I want to make sure I can remember what I said. So I have already told you, as we all know in golf, practice isn't like the real thing. As you just mentioned, you got to kind of give up control. Like where I screwed up in the song that day was there's a key change. There's a little bit of it kind of starts off in kind of one tempo, and he's really good, this guy. And then when you get to the third verse, you kind of swing it up a little bit. It just changes a little bit. And so I was, as you just mentioned, everything was going well. And then in my head, I'm like, that thing's coming up. And then while I was thinking about that, I'm still playing. And then I kind of messed the little key changey part. Then I messed the whole thing up just for a second or two. Another thing I wrote was, it's a great experience, and I love putting myself out there in an uncomfortable situation. And what I realized is bringing it to the course as a golfer is all about getting it on the course. You only when I say getting the game on the course, you only really improve when we get better at leaving practice behind and just playing, as you just mentioned. Now, the thing is, I don't have your experience. Like, I've got a lot of experience of standing in front of people, but I don't have a lot of experience playing guitar in front of people. I've done it from time to time, and I can tell you, I've been so lucky. I mean, I've played with some really good players in some amazing situations, and Tim, I was almost trembling when we started.
Oh, I get it. Totally, yeah.
But the thing about golf, and this is what I relate it to, is it's only the experience that gives you confidence. See, we've talked a lot about this on the show. A lot of golfers think, I'll be confident when I play well. But in actual fact, confidence comes from being in situations that are uncomfortable, stumbling, like we both have, and then recovering from it, that's the thing that makes the connection, the pathway to confidence is that. It's knowing that you, and where my confidence, excuse me, where my confidence as a golfer and obviously as a broadcaster is, I've put myself in that situation so many times that I can start a golf tournament and bogey the first 4 holes and still be fine because I've done that before. And I know I have confidence that if we play long enough, I'll be fine. Things will be fine. And if they're not fine that day, then that's okay too. That's what I think I learned from that situation I put myself into.
Yeah, I think that, okay, you already knew this. It just reinforced it in a different way because you're used to, as a golfer, you're teed up in tournaments. You've been in playoffs with lots of people watching, all that. There's pressure with that. Obviously, stand up, like the hardest thing to do is make people laugh who paid, to have that experience. But it's from the experience that we grow in all ways. I mean, practice is great. You need to do that prep. There's no getting around that. You have to have done that, your homework, you're ready. And then you just go and you give her and whatever happens, happens. And that's why I'm working with a lot of very high level junior golfers right now who are, these are kids, usually about grade 10 and 11 who want to get U.S. college scholarships. They want to get into Ivy League, and like these kids are overachievers. But what we constantly have to reinforce with them is that when they go into a tournament, take the emphasis off performance and put most of your eggs in the learning basket. What did you learn from that experience? Because if it's all about performance, did I shoot the number I wanted? Did I meet the standard that I wanted? That's a tough spot, and we just never know. What if you wake up with a crick in your neck? It's windy that day. You can't control it. But if you take that the most valuable thing out of the experience is your learning, that you take forward. You can grow from that. And so whether you shoot, whether you're a kid who's, like a plus handicap or, a 3 index and you shoot 92, you can take some valuable stuff out of there. But if you make it all about performance and then obviously you call yourself names and, I'm not good enough. Well, you're just causing yourself emotional injury and you don't move forward.
Yeah, I love all that. And, I remember a while back when DJ was still on the tour before he went to live, he had a day, it was a rough day for a lot of people, but I think this is 3 or 4 years ago, he shot like 82 or 81 in a tournament. And then I remember thinking at the time, man, if that guy can shoot 81 or 80, whatever the number was, yeah, there's going to be a 90 in my I'm a 0.5 index, and last year I shot 90. Yep. But a few years ago I would have done that and punched the inside of my windshield thinking, well, almost like to myself, how dare you? How dare you sully our reputation with a 90? Yeah. But and that's what led.
What about my legacy?
What about my legacy? And that's when I started saying, about one of my many hackneyed shit that I say on the show. But when I say all scores are possible, I say that because I've experienced it. 68 last year was my, Golf Canada now does the, it's almost like Spotify Wrapped.
The recap,
so what was I had this many rounds. This was my average. My lowest was 68, but my highest was 90. And I tried. I may have not tried on the last hole where I made a 10. Okay, that was a bit of a, that was a little bit. It was just me. It was like
an outlier.
Yeah, I tin cupped that 4 times off the tee just because I was a little bit aggravated. But all scores are possible. And I wish, of the many, many things I wish I'd known earlier is that it's all scores are possible. And, as as Grant Closer, my girlfriend, Kathy Hartwood said, when you finish your round, and people are in the room there in the bar after, and somebody asks you what you shot, just tell them without explanation. Hey, what'd you shoot today, Howard? I shot 86. Full stop. Don't need to tell you why or justify who I am. It's the number. It's just what I shot. And then move on.
Absolutely. I remember I was so fortunate to spend a lot of time with Ben Kern. You know, he became friends of both of ours.
Yeah,
he
as
was
was I,
a
yeah.
former PGA Tour player, director of golf at the National and the Pulpit. And so we did some writing together for magazines, etc. And I just remember him saying to me one time, he says, never explain a shot. So let's say you fluff a chip and then someone go, oh, the grass was growing against me and it was sitting down and it was like in a tight lie, and just don't explain it. It just happened. And to me, it's the exact same with whatever you shoot, because what, like, you know what I'm going to say is that as soon as you start to have to explain it, what you're really saying is that, people, I'm better than that.
Absolutely.
I just there was the world conspired against me. It's just like that lie. Anyone, you would have had to been Tiger Woods on your best day to get out of that mess.
I excuse me. I've come to understand the reason I got so mad, and maybe others will relate to this. The reason I got so upset was I was demonstrative in my anger, so that this is not how I normally play.
Yeah, exactly. I'm better than this. Okay?
I'm better than this.
Yeah.
And by throwing this club, you'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll see,
exactly.
buddy. Yeah, the last line I wrote was true confidence comes from being under pressure, making mistakes, recovering from them. So you gain an understanding that you can handle the inevitable adversity that comes from overcoming the many vagaries of the game, whatever those are.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell for me. And, it's funny. It took me a long time. Doolin's the one that got my head around that there were things I knew and had learned from being on stage thousands of times that I could take and transfer to golf because, I've had a couple of sets in my life where it just was, everything was like, everything worked. Everything was magic. But for the most part, and I did a thing, speaking of Ben Kern, the last time I spoke in front of people to be funny was I was hosting the Ben Kern charity thing with Chris DeMarco, who was on our show. And yeah, I was funny that night, but not everything was 10 out of 10. There was a couple things I said that didn't get the reaction I wanted. But I have the confidence to know that I'll be fine, you'll be fine. We're just moving on. As opposed to like, that joke didn't work, but I'm way better than this. And then start slapping shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we come back to experience. And so one of the things I've learned from you over the years is that it's okay to flub a line or to use the wrong word or whatever, or the thing doesn't get a laugh. I remember being... I did a talk at the National Golf Course Owners Association about 3 weeks ago, and I had some kind of line that I thought was kind of funny. And so I say the line, nothing. And I went, I thought that was kind of funny.
That's right.
And people start to laugh. And why? Because I'm just being a human.
Because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you were comfortable, even though it didn't work. We all grew up, you and I grew up, watching Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson's funniest moments on that show was when the monologue jokes didn't work.
Oh, and the way he'd respond. Yeah.
And that's confidence. That's true confidence. Yeah. So so it's all tying in. We had me playing a Springsteen song, talking about performance, and then you've written Tim's latest Substack. His post will be all about changing your mind about Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. So that's so funny that you referenced a Bruce Springsteen song earlier. What I've been experiencing with these people I've been coaching, generally in the golfers I coach, I do life coaching as well, but most of what they come to me with is their frustration about that they can't perform, in tournaments the way they can in casual rounds, and they're not meeting their standards. And like, if I'm at this level, I should be able to hit this shot. And almost invariably, it comes down to that. This is just what they start to understand is that they're creating their own suffering by the way they think. And so they're not really just having an experience of what they're doing, is that they hit a shot and then all of a sudden they're into a story and they're judging themselves, or, I'm not meeting the standard or whatever. And so a lot of that is just working on their awareness. So what happened for me a couple of weeks ago, I read a review of the new Springsteen movie, and which I really want to see. And then I thought about how, back in the day in university, uh, I just like totally ignored. I didn't like Springsteen would just kind of irritate me, and his fans would irritate me. And what I came to understand is that in university, I was like, did you see High Fidelity, Jack Black, John
Oh yeah,
Cusack,
yeah,
the music snobs?
absolutely.
Like that's what me and some of my friends were like in
Trust me,
university.
I worked at CFNY. I know the type.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh, just insufferable. So, I was just a young person. I'm learning, I'm growing. But, everything had to be, it was like I was totally into punk and post-punk, and just Bruce Springsteen was not cool to me. So mainstream, so dull. And anyways, so I didn't really pay attention to Bruce Springsteen at all. And I had an incident with a staffer. He wrote a review and I cut it, the lead
I love that
callously.
part of this. When you guys read this, it's funny because Tim, got into it a little bit with somebody at his university school paper, and you would cut some lines from an article that he had written about Springsteen. You were like, then people were pulling you off each other. I love it.
Oh yeah, he wanted to fight me. He wanted
Yeah.
to beat the living shit out of me. He was so angry. He totally freaked. And but I was just, I just went, oh, it's just more fucking of this guy's purple prose about Bruce. So, it was 4 lines too long to meet the spot. It was the last article going in the paper. So I just lopped it off, and I was just such a callous bastard.
Oh,
But
Tim.
anyways, I was
Hard to
arrogant.
believe.
Yes, that it was. So, anyways, so never a big. And Springsteen was one of the biggest things in music, and I could care less. I never did pay attention, nothing. And then 4 years later, a guy invites me to go see Springsteen at the CNE Grandstand during the Born to Run tour. And towards the end of the song, Dancing in the Dark, which you played earlier, he does this thing just like the movie. So look at the official video for that song, and you'll see at the end he pulls Courtney Cox up.
That's right, Courtney Cox from Friends.
Yeah, but she was not a star. No one knew who she was then. So he pulls her up and he dances with her. Well, that happens at this Springsteen concert. And like, this is the guy that I kind of dismissed. It's kind of cliche stuff, whatever, girls and cars. And when he did that towards the end show, my tears just welled in my eyes and my heart went into my throat and I just started trembling. And he just cracked me wide open. I was just in this state of just utter transcendence. I know it sounds so big and mystical,
you had a come to Springsteen moment.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my God. I was just in this space and I was just like, the tears wouldn't stop. And I was just, and it was Sandy, who was my fiance at the time, looked at me like, what is going on with you?
Did she think, has this guy taken some of them drugs?
Yeah. And like, I totally lost it. And so what I realized it was that rather than filtering everything through my little ego, narrow mind of whether Springsteen is cool and how does this line up against Dylan or any of that fucking nonsense. I said in the blog, he bypassed my brain and went straight to my heart. And so the whole point of the post was that when we have a direct experience of something, we see what's real and we actually experience what's real in ourselves rather than all the thinking. And am I meeting a standard? Is the expectation? Is this good? Is this whatever? Because as golfers, if we're thinking about ourselves all the time, we don't see what's real. We don't we don't experience what we're really doing. Everything is filtered through this. So you can't, it's the same as what you were saying earlier. If you're trying to control your golf swing while swinging,
No.
you're not in the experience. You're not present. So it's just my way of relating that Springsteen thing, is that I finally got him and understood his stories and saw what he was really putting out there, rather than me being this judgmental asshole. Then I started to experiencing him. And so I'm just making the point that if we can just drop all that thinking and passing everything through the filter of judgment, is this good? Am I doing it the right way? Then we have we directly experience ourselves and the world. The end.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're all, you know, it's in our early 20s. We're so positive. You know, you and I both have had kids, you know, pass through their early 20s, and now my one daughter is about to turn 28, and my other one's 31. You know that old joke about, you know, they can't believe how dumb we were, how stupid we were in their late teens, early 20s, and then somewhere in their mid to late 20s, they can't believe how smart we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing music, not playing it, but playing radio music, or playing music on the radio, I should have, since 1977. So literally, you know, for thousands of hours of my life, I've introed and extroed songs. So, you know, clearly there's a lot of songs, like, you know, after a while you kind of go, oh, I'm getting tired of all this. You know, I was never really into the music the way that a lot of people who loved CFNY or The Edge, where I worked, I wasn't into the music anywhere near the way they were. And I had a similar experience, but I did it as a joke. I used to do this bit when we were on The Edge. This is like the mid-90s. And I'm going to tell you the joke that I did, and I regretted it because I became such a fan of this band. But I used to do this thing because I knew it would drive the listeners crazy. Is a song would end, I go, there's 102.1 The Edge, there's a Tragically Hip and 50 Mission Cap, and Fred would go, no, Howard, that's Courage. I go, what? They all sound the same to me.
Ooh.
I said, are you sure, Fred? I said, that's got to be Bill Barilko or some shit. I said, yeah. And that was our little back and forth, and the phones would go crazy.
Oh yeah. How do you dare? Yeah, exactly.
This is the Tragically Hip.
Yes.
And it was a running bit for quite a while, and then about somewhere in the late 90s, we were doing the Hip were playing a big record release thing. That's why we used to play records. And we had a live remote. We did our show from the Masonic Temple on Yonge Street.
Oh, yes. Love that
historic place. Totally. And so that morning we did the show there with a bunch of listeners, and the band was coming by to launch their tour. And it's funny because I've gotten to know this guy. The manager of the Hip, for you people who don't know, is a guy named Jake Gold, who was on Canadian Idol for years. Anyway, there we were. I was having a cigarette after the show on Yonge Street. That's how long ago it was. Having a cigarette, and I turn around, and all of a sudden Jake Gold comes up to me and goes, what the fuck? Why do you fucking hate my band? And he starts pushing me up against, am I going to have to fight the manager of the Tragically Hip? I said, Jake, it's a joke. It's a bit. I love the band. He's like, because every time I hear somebody calls and says you fucking hate, I go, dude, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I had so many chances to go and see them, but because I didn't really think all their songs sounded the same, but I was really never that big a fan, and that's where this bit came from. But I have become such a Tragically Hip fan, you know, not just from that day forward, but, you know, my point is, other than, you know, like a lot of kids, you know, somewhere in my 20s and early 30s, I thought it was, I just thought it was being funny, but, you know, apparently they took it a little more seriously. Funny, I ended up golfing with a couple of the guys in the band. But anyway, yes, and
you came to appreciate them.
Well, yeah, but again, playing so many, when you're playing music for a living, it's like you can't get into every band. You know,
totally.
I had some of my favorites, but they were just some band on the periphery for me anyway. But man,
Yeah. But I think that the point that I was making and you're inferring to is that when it passes through your ego
Yes.
about whether this is good, this is worth paying attention to. Oh, this is just that. Oh, this is this band. They're that. I mean, we don't really experience it. And like so I was in the 1980s for the Canadian Press. I was their music critic, and I totally dissed the first Tragically Hip album. I just didn't like it. I didn't think the production was any good, etc. Boy, there's one I'd like to have take a mulligan on.
You like to have that do-over.
Exactly. But I was so into my headspace, even as especially as a teenager, about what was good music, and had to meet these parameters, and had to be like the musicianship had to be good, it had to be somewhat adventurous, etc., etc. So I would hear certain groups like disco. I thought was just garbage. I hated disco. I just labeled it, didn't at all. And then most pop music, like for example, ELO. I hear an ELO song come on, and like, fuck that. Try and find, Deep Purple.
That's so weird. I love ELO.
Or ZZ Top. And anyways, so I just never listened to them. And then about 15 years ago, I listened to what's the Mr. Blue Sky?
Oh yeah.
I'm walking my dog and I'm listening to it, and it's like I go, this is a work of absolute freaking genius.
Oh yeah. That Telephone Line, Mr. Blue Sky. I love all those songs.
It's incredibly good, and I think like Jeff Lynne is a freaking genius up there with Prince and McCartney, and I think guys,
that's why he was invited to play in the Traveling Wilburys.
Yes,
He's
exactly.
A fucking genius, that guy.
But once I was open to like actually listening,
yep,
like really listening, being present. Maybe we can make that connection to your performance, and listening and swinging a golf club. When we're just being present to the experience, just kind of witnessing it, not jumping into our head, is this good? Am I doing it right? Does this meet a standard? That's just distortion of what's actually happening.
I think golf is the bringing it back and getting ready to wrap this up. It's why golf is so difficult, frustrating, all the things and we love it for these reasons, but it's very difficult to not adjudicate yourself. As I said in my little post, I was thinking about playing the guitar while I was playing the guitar. It's not like it was, and I was because it's not normal for me. But us golfers, the few moments in a summer where we're not thinking about how we look or how we're doing, or more commonly, how do we do this thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's when we get those moments of true joy.
Totally. And I know we're wrapping up, but I'm just going to reference that the podcast we did with Jim Waldron was really, really good. I mean, like Marcus, he tried to jam a lot of stuff into that.
A lot of stuff there.
So we got to have both of them back.
Yes.
But one of the things that Jim talked about, and then I researched it later, there's actually science that shows, like just what you talked about, you can't swing while thinking about your swing. You'll have zero. All you'll do is gum up the works. You'll just make it worse, because while you're doing something, particularly at regular speed, your conscious mind does not have an influence on the performance. It's your subconscious is doing that. The only way you can then have influence on what you're doing is if you slow it down. So if you played that song at 33 RPM rather than 45 RPM. Oh, there's an old reference.
Oh yeah, I love that. What about 78? That's how old we are.
Yeah. Well, that'd be too fast. But if you have to slow things down, like way down, and not hit a golf ball if you want to change your golf swing. But you can't. Again, there's actual science, folks, that if you try to control your golf swing, you can't do it. You just can't.
What a nice way to end our last program of 2025.
Yeah, good song to do it with. I hear it coming.
So listen, everybody, we're going to take a break here. Probably the next time we're going to record a show will be around the middle of January. So I would say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year to you and yours from the management and staff of Swing Thoughts. From our family to yours, all the best for the new year and beyond. Tim?
Absolutely. All the best, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being there for us, and all the best to your families this season, and have a great 2026.
Yeah, and
management and staff,
the
both of
management
us,
staff of both of us. I like to just finish off by saying maybe we could all just resolve to be a little more kind to one another. Maybe we could do that. Let's try that on for size.
Let's be compassionate with each other.
All right, Merry Christmas, pal.
You too, man. Cheers.
This is Swing Thoughts, brought to you by parforsuccess.com/Humble and Fred. Get a free 45-minute consultation. The program is produced by Humble and Fred Radio. And, of course, for all things O'Connor, go to o'connorgolf.ca. We'll see you next year.
Feel all right when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you